And as we have long awaited, the New York Times has released its report, which many are saying was a direct attempt to get YouTube to censor prominent voices. It's not news, it's fake news. Utilizing conspiracy crackpots over at Media Matters, the New York Times ran what is a fake news story to try and get me as well as many others censored on YouTube. As you can see, there are many prominent figures here listed in their beautiful little animated GIF at the top of the New York Times page. Well, recently, we saw a post from Ben Shapiro where he said he'd been reached out to by the New York Times, asking him about a series of things that had been stated. Tucker Carlson said something similar, and I had posted I, too, had received word from an individual. However, for me, all I can really say is he didn't ask for anything. He asked me to comment, but there was nothing to comment on. Then he puts in this story that I refused to comment. My guy, what am I supposed to comment on? I love this. The story basically says that while Media Matters is partisan, they did their fact checking and all of us are posting misinformation, to which YouTube responded, none of this breaks the rules and you're allowed to debate these things politically. What I love most about this is that nowhere in the story does it say I ever did anything wrong. Hence, what am I supposed to comment on? Such a very, very weird circumstance to find ourselves in. Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, Michael Knowles, Rudy Giuliani, whatever, they're allowed to have opinions in news and politics. And we are all following YouTube's rules. We at Timcast IRL follow them quite to the T, dotting our I's as well. So it's not going to work. I was asked several times about this, and I told everybody, guys, these stories pop up all the time. By all means, we can call it out, but I don't think it is meaningful in any real way. Here's what they wrote. Election falsehoods take off on YouTube as it looks the other way. Nico Grant says, in June of 2023, YouTube decided to stop fighting the most persistent strain of election misinformation in the U.S., the falsehood that President Biden stole the 2020 election from Donald J. Trump. Within months, the largest video platform became a home for election conspiracy theories, half-truths, and lies. They in turn became a source of revenue for YouTube, which announced growing quarterly ad sales on Tuesday. During 4 tumultuous months of this year's presidential campaign, researchers from Media Matters for America, which is a left partisan smear organization, they don't do legitimate research, they're conspiracy theorists, a group that monitors information from conservative sources, examined the consequences of YouTube's about face. While Media Matters is a partisan organization that regularly criticizes conservatives, reporters and academics frequently cite it as a source on YouTube misinformation because it devotes significant resources to tracking the vast problem. The New York Times independently verified the research, examining all of the videos identified by Media Matters and determining whether YouTube placed ads or fact-check labels on them. From May through August, researchers at Media Matters tracked 30 of the most popular YouTube channels they identified as persistently spreading election misinformation to analyze the narratives they share in the run to the election. The 30 conservative channels posted 286 videos containing election misinformation. So that's, what is that? About 9 videos per channel. Oi, I post probably 20 videos per day, my dude. If of all these channels, you couldn't find nothing on me, forgive me for making errors when they arise. We often correct here at Timcast, and we actually have correction submissions. But you know what they do? They do this thing where, I'll give you one example. Fox once ran a story claiming that there was some evidence about the Seth Rich conspiracy theory. And then I said, wow, look at this story from Fox Business. Then it was later retracted. And they said, aha, you have fake news. And I'm like, my guy, I am citing Fox News. Forgive me. What am I supposed to do? If the news is retracted later, what am I supposed to do about that? Obviously, we correct. And then we put up a new story. That's the misinformation they do. So 30 conservative channels, they don't actually break down, what did I say? I'd like to know. They say, because we post, what do? We do, I think we do 10 to 15 videos per day about. So what, you're saying in 4 months with 10 to 15 videos per day, on average, you found 9 that you believe contained election misinformation. Here's the other thing. None of them did. None of them did. Because we use the New York Times and Fox News and ABC News. We use corporate press sources to determine to determine the news. They go to mention that YouTube generated revenue for more than a third of those videos by placing ads before or during them, researchers found. Some commentators also made money from those videos and other monetized features available to the members of the YouTube Partner Program. Commentators included Rudolph Giuliani, who disputed the results of the 2020 race, Tucker Carlson, who said the last election was stolen. Ben Shapiro, who said Democrats rigged voting rules in 2020. Anything from me? Didn't think so. Mr. Giuliani, the former New York mayor, posted more false electoral claims. Don't care. Mr. Carlson and Mr. Shapiro did not directly respond to a series of questions, but attacked the reporting. Don't care. Because what are you saying that was wrong? An opinion? Define the word rigged. An opinion? YouTube, which is owned by Google, has prided itself on authoritative news, blah, blah, blah. The commentators used false narratives about 2020 as a foundation for elaborate claims the 2024 contest was also rigged, all while YouTube made money from them. Kayla Gagardia, research director at Media Matters, who led the analysis, said that YouTube is allowing these right-wing accounts and channels to undermine the 2024 results. A YouTube spokeswoman said none of the 286 videos violated its community guidelines. The ability to openly debate political ideas, even those that are controversial, is an important value, especially in the midst of election season. It would be quite hilarious indeed if YouTube were to take down some of the most prominent Trump-supporting channels a few days out from an election. That would be substantially worse for business, would result in a congressional investigation. That's why I think the story is nonsense. But hey, the story's been bubbling up and many people wanted to hear about it. So let's break it down. Most of the 30 Trek channels are ineligible for advertising, and some had previously violated the company's content policies, the spokesman added. This report demonstrates our consistent approach to enforcing our policies. YouTube said it removes videos that mislead voters on how to vote, encourage election interference, or make violent threats. Mary Ellen Coe, YouTube's chief business officer, described the platform's approach as cautious and vigilant. We have significant investment in this area in terms of making sure that first and foremost, we are raising authoritative content, and then we are removing or reducing things that might represent misinformation. In December 2020, YouTube banned content that misleads people by alleging that widespread fraud or errors changed the outcome of 2020 election. But in June 2023, they reversed course. Would you like to present anywhere where I have ever made that claim? What I've mostly said is that Democrats had better ground game. The enthusiasm against Trump was much, much better. And this resulted in a series of unfortunate events for Republicans. That is, Democrats utilized ballot harvesting, a legal practice in most states, to rally votes for Joe Biden. With people locked down, it was relatively easy to knock on doors and people got ballots sent to their homes. That really is it. They're going to mention that YouTube removed only 3 of the videos that Media Matters found and placed information labels that linked to factual information on 21 of them, though most of the election labels were later removed. Some of the commentators seized on the news events. These moments included Trump's conviction of felony counts, et cetera, said it was rigged, Kash Patel, Giuliani, RFK. You see, the funny thing is, what do I have to do with any of this? Why am I involved in this? They're going to mention YouTube's approach to the presidential race garnered attention in September when 2 Russians working for state-run media outlet RT were indicted in connection with an effort to spread disinformation on the video platform. RT allegedly funneled the money through Tenet Media, and that's actually factually incorrect. The actual indictment says that RT employees funneled through various Ukrainian accounts before arriving with Tenet, which calls into questions a lot about who knew what and when. We don't know. But they're skipping over important points of that story. They say through Tenet Media, operated a YouTube channel with more than 16 million views. They paid popular pundits to create content, including Benny Johnson and Tim Pool. Wrong! Also factually false. We had, and this is plainly visible in the indictment, a non-exclusive distribution license. The Culture War podcast over at youtube.com/Timcast was never receiving money for the creation of content. It was receiving money for a license on content we were already creating and still make. Before Tenet, during and after, we have controlled publishing. It has always been published on Apple, Spotify, Google, etc. without any issues. Tenet purchased a non-exclusive license to broadcast it live on their channel, but they had no say in what we produced. So that is false. Mr. Johnson and Poole and others have said they had no knowledge about the true source of payments. YouTube deleted Tenet's channel, but did not terminate Johnson's and Mr. Poole's accounts. And there's tons of other individuals they didn't mention as well. I'm not going to name them. Johnson said his channel provided a valuable access point for independent thought and journalism and reiterated his stance the 2020 election was stolen. Mr. Poole did not respond to a request for comment because he didn't ask me to comment on anything. Also, notice in this story, never does he accuse me of any wrongdoing. Come on, buddy. Why am I even in this story? Seriously, dude, let me ask you again. Why am I in this story? I wonder. Seriously. Then they go on to mention Benny Johnson and then nothing about me. Political commentators on YouTube used Mr. Trump's conviction to claim that his legal troubles were a concerted effort, blah, blah, blah. There's more. That's it. Why am I even in this? Why was I asked to comment? I'm not accused of any wrongdoing. I'm not accused of spreading any misinformation. He shows Benny Johnson. Nothing in this has anything to do with me. They put my name in these stories to get clicks on Google. Dude, I know what you're doing. This is what they're all doing. Because, surprise, surprise, I guess when you're a milquetoast fence sitter, there's not a whole lot to say about you, is there? So this is the game they play. Ridiculous. Johnson did not directly address whether suggesting that Democrats were trying to get 30 million illegal immigrants to go was misinformation. When YouTube last barred creators, blah, blah, blah. Since then, the company's public stance, I wonder why they put my picture in this, but then never say that I had anything to do with any of it. Or Michael Knowles, for that matter. What a waste of time. Lies and manipulations. I think that factual error needs to be corrected. Timcast and the Culture War were never paid to produce content. Because, let me tell you, my friends, I have a policy here. We don't take outside investment. We don't allow people to buy seats on Timcast IRL. We take sponsorships and license agreements. We're working on licensing music. I've licensed content to Discovery in the past, and I believe Nat Geo. So when an American company asks for a license, we say, sure. We say, okay. We give it to our lawyers. That's it. Never have I accepted money in exchange for producing news content. I get people and they say, hey, we get asked about, like, would you run a segment on Timcast IRL? We'll pay you. No, we won't do it. I don't do it. I choose what I think is important, and we do not get paid by people to produce things. The culture war existed at youtube.com/Timcast. Tenet approached and said, we'd be interested in buying a license to this. Okay. We continued to produce and run the show as we did. That's it. Thank you and have a nice day. Nice try, though, dude. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. Smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. We'll see you all tonight.